Hey everybody, gonna give everyone 30 seconds or so just to make sure we give everyone plenty of time to hop in here. I'm seeing a bunch of people join us right now. And while you're just joining, feel free to drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Love to always hear where everyone's hanging out. And then also as we go through this, like the chat is open. So you guys should be able to use the chat as we talk through things and as questions are asked. Feel free to ask those in the chat or in the Q&A. And yeah, super excited to have the conversation here today with Todd Dawalt on how to boost your bottom line, how to schedule for profit. And looks like attendee numbers are kind of settling. We've given everyone a chance to get in here. So we'll go ahead and get this started. So super excited to have Todd Dawalt on here with us today. Todd is the founder and host of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. It's one of the most popular, like longest running construction specific podcasts out there. So if it's not on your current follow list for podcasts, like go at it right away. It's fantastic. And Todd's also just been in the construction industry for 25 years, done a ton of different things, from large scale projects to running his own company. And now he works with construction companies to help them just fine tune processes, build themselves a better business. So super excited to have you on here with us today, Todd. I'll let you take it from here and we can dive into this.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Bracken. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to turn off my camera here, and then we'll jump into it. All right. So a few things I want to share. Some startling statistics. According to the McKinsey Global Institute, they did a study on construction productivity, and they said that the average construction worker spends only 30% of their time on productive activities, and the other 70% is lost to inefficiencies like waiting for materials, traveling, looking for tools and equipment. The Construction Industry Institute found that poor project planning and scheduling contributes to a third of all cost overruns on construction projects. And this one surprised me. The CDC, which we've all heard plenty about the CDC over the past 4 years, the CDC found that the number one barrier to preventing struck by hazards was a lack of pre-task planning. So I want to ask you a few questions. In your operation, how much time do your crews spend waiting for materials, instructions, or tools every day? How much time is spent waiting? And what impact does lost time, downtime, wasted time have on your project timelines and your budgets? And if we were to put a dollar amount to it, how much would you estimate lost productivity is costing you every month? How often is your team scrambling to locate tools, materials, and equipment, especially in the morning at the shop? Have you ever missed a project deadline because of scheduling conflicts or poor planning? And think about this. How many injuries on construction sites are the result of poor planning? Well, we didn't have the harness. We forgot the lanyard. We forgot to grab the gas monitor. We didn't have the right training. We didn't do the JHA, right? And forget about everybody else. Let's talk about you. How much time do you spend every week in reactive mode putting out fires? That's what we're going to talk about today, how to boost your bottom line, how to schedule for profits. And if I do my job, then I will accomplish two things. We'll talk about two secrets. The first secret to boosting your bottom line is you need to transform your doers into planners. And the second secret is you have to get out of the JETS trap. I'll explain that. I'll also explain these graphics you see down here at the bottom, especially this red squiggly line, which is probably affecting 90% of you. And then be sure to stick around until the end, and I'll show you how to get our free download of 32 tips for maximizing productivity. Very simple tips that have been tested and proven over the past decade or so for improving profitability and productivity. A little bit about who I am. My name's Todd Dawalt. I founded the Construction Leading Edge podcast back in 2014. Since then, we've helped 300 plus construction business owners have more freedom, more impact, more wealth by systematizing their business. Personally, I managed over $300 million worth of construction projects over the past 25 years, including projects like this 250-unit senior living community in Cincinnati. This was a $30 million office building for Valvoline in Lexington. I built about 2 million square feet of industrial buildings in central Kentucky. And if we have any bourbon enthusiasts on here, you may be familiar with the Bourbon Trail. I did some of my best work on the Bourbon Trail, some of the cities on the Bourbon Trail, like Louisville, Kentucky, Frankfort, Kentucky, and Lexington, Kentucky, running a sewer lining and rehabilitation business. I was brought in to run the company. I grew it from about 15 employees up to 50 employees, from $4 million in revenue to $11 million in revenue, tripled profit margins. You might be thinking, wow, Todd, does sewer rehabilitation, is it as glamorous as it sounds? And it is. It is exactly as glamorous as it sounds. We are celebrating the 10th year anniversary of the Construction Leading Edge podcast, and we've helped a few hundred contractors systematize their business through our Systematize Your Construction Business program and the CEO Alliance. But let's talk about you. I'm wondering if you've ever received any texts like this. Hey, boss, where are we going today? At 6:45 in the morning. Or maybe this one. Hey, do we have another skid steer? Looks like Dave took the one we need at 8:15 in the morning. Or maybe this one at 1:15 right after lunch. Hey, man, we just ran out of material. Where do you want us to go now? And maybe you've responded with texts like this, like, you're going to go back to the same job you were on yesterday to finish up. I thought we talked about this. Or maybe at 8:15, like, hold on, let me see what I can do about that skid steer. Just keep the guys busy for a while. Or at 1 or 2:15 p.m., you get the text about being out of material, and you ask, did you see the stack of material getting smaller before lunch? Why are you telling me this just now? And maybe you'd like to send messages like this one, like these. How am I supposed to get anything done when I'm having to respond to this kind of stuff? Do I have to do all of the planning? Why do I have to solve all your problems? Isn't that what I'm paying you to do? Or maybe you're thinking, how are we ever going to grow when you guys can't figure this stuff out on your own? So if you want to eradicate these kind of texts, this chaos, we have to do two things. We have to transform doers into planners, and we have to get out of the JETS trap, which we're going to get to before we're done today. But I'm curious, what's the question that you get from your team that drives you crazy? Is there a text or a question that you get from your team that drives you crazy? Pause for just a second. Put that in the chat box. What's the question that you get most often that drives you crazy? You get any of these questions like, hey, we just ran out of material. There we go. Francesca said, what material goes here? Did you order it? Yeah. Did you order that material? What goes here? Yeah. What else? Or maybe your crews just have it all figured out. Maybe they never ask you questions that drive you crazy. Junior said, I ran out of material. Yeah. That always drove me crazy. Hey, I just ran out of material. Right. And then maybe the next question is, can you go pick up stuff for us? Yeah, Sarah said, when they first arrive on the job site and they realize they should have picked up something on their way to the job site. Missing material, broken equipment. Yeah. Yeah, we just got to the job site. We forgot this. Oh, we forgot this tool. I forgot that we needed to bring a compressor with us, or something just broke down. Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're dealing with. So, let me ask you this, what if things were different? What if you could eliminate some of this chaos and you could improve productivity by just 10%? What if what if you could meet deadlines? And what if you could actually exceed client expectations instead of clients being tolerant of your crew? What if you could exceed their expectations? What if your team could plan better and minimize firefighting? Could you take on more projects? Maybe grow your business? What if you could grow the business without hiring more people because you were more efficient? And then let's forget everybody else. What about you? What would you be able to do if you could spend less time putting out fires and not have to deal with the texts and emails and calls outside of normal business hours? What if your normal business hours could be normal business hours? What would that free you up to do? Well, again, there are two crucial concepts that you need to understand. And for the first one, we need to go to the Middle East, to the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is General Stanley McChrystal, and he led the war on terror, and he wrote a book called Team of Teams: New Rules of Engagement for a Complex World. And in his book, he talks about when he was leading the war on terror in the Middle East, the old methods that had been successful in the past were no longer effective against this new enemy that they were facing. And he said this. He said, "We restructured our force from the ground up on principles of extremely transparent information sharing and empowered execution." And General McChrystal credits the success of the special forces and turning the tide in the war on terror on empowered execution. Now, this concept of empowered execution is not a new one, even to the military. And in fact, a lot of historians credit the Allies' success on D-Day, the Normandy invasion back in World War II, to empowered execution. One historian said this about the invasion of Normandy. He said, Eisenhower's strategy was not a rigid, linear operation, but it was a framework that allowed for opportunistic variation at lower levels. Opportunistic variation at lower levels. On the other hand, the Germans had a very rigid command and control structure with centralized command that gave ground troops no authority to make decisions. They could do nothing but wait for instructions from Hitler. And fortunately for the Allies, the German tank divisions that could have turned the tide sat idling, waiting for orders from Berlin. But according to some historians, people were afraid to wake Hitler up in the middle of the night. By contrast, American leaders at all levels were empowered to make on-the-spot tactical decisions within the boundaries of that overall operational scheme. And the success of D-Day ultimately came down to the decisions of lower-level officers and sergeants on the beaches. The excellent training of those boys on the beaches kicked in. They planned their own assaults. Captains, lieutenants, sergeants, and corporals defeated the defenses of Germany's best military minds, not the generals and the admirals. So this concept of empowered execution, this is the first concept, the first secret to improving productivity and profitability. It's empowered execution. It works in the military and it works on construction sites. So here's what it means. What you're going to do is empower your frontline employees to make decisions. We're going to push decision-making out to the people closest to the problems. You're going to use advanced communication tools to ensure information flows freely across all levels. Advanced communication tools like BusyBusy. And then you'll leverage their proximity to problems for better solutions. Okay, so this is what centralized command looks like, where information flows from the bottom to the top. The people at the top make the decision, and then they push the information and plans back down. And the fundamental belief is that he or she who's highest on the org chart makes the decisions. Okay. So this is very slow. The people furthest away from the problems are making the decisions and then pushing that information down to the people doing the work. This is what the Nazis did. Okay. I'm not saying you're a Nazi if you do this. I'm just saying this is what centralized command looks like. Here's what empowered execution looks like. Empowered execution says that he or she who's closest to the problem makes the decisions. So in this case, leaders are pushing information and authority out to the people closest to the problem, and these people are making the decisions. They're making the plans because we're leveraging their proximity to the problem. They can see the problem much better than the people who are back in the trailer or even back in the office. So when you do this, here's what happens. We've seen this over and over and over. I've seen it in the sewer lining company, sewer rehabilitation company I ran. When you embrace empowered execution, when you push decision-making out to the people closest to the problems, it reduces bottlenecks, you get faster and better decisions, you actually get fewer mistakes, you have a more resilient organization. Morale and motivation goes up, and your phone rings and dings less. Fewer phone calls to you. Now, we're going to talk about 3 tools you can use and how you can use them with BusyBusy. Okay, and we're going to talk about just a few of the tools that are part of our 5-part leadership system. We'll talk about just 3 of them today. This is part of our Systematize Your Construction Business program. We don't have time to get into all of them, but here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to look at 3 tools, and we'll talk about the level at which we use those tools, the time frame, and then what the actual tool is. So the first tool is at the company-wide level, and it is the time frame is 30 to 60 days. We're planning for the next 30 to 60 days, and we call it the MIT list, the MIT list. And the MIT list will be sort of like a tool used by this guy. If we have any college football fans, you know this is Nick Saban, former coach of the University of Alabama. And I found this list from the 2008 Alabama Crimson Tide. This is the 2008 defensive goals. This was a published list of goals shared with the Alabama defensive squad. And it listed, this is what we want to accomplish. Number 1, win. Number 2, we want to hold opponents to 13 or less. What do we want to do on runs? What do we want to focus on passes? What about turnovers? So if you were a linebacker or a cornerback for Alabama and you got overwhelmed and you weren't sure what you should focus on, you weren't sure what the priorities were, you could refer to this one pager. If it's a run play, the most important thing is to hold the opponent to 3.3 yards per rush. If you do that, you're winning. On passes, we want to hold them to 5 yards or less. We want to affect the quarterback. Who should we focus on? The quarterback. How many turnovers are we shooting for? 3 per game. So imagine if your team knew the most important things they need to focus on for the next 30 days. What would that do for it? So I was running a company, that sewer rehabilitation company. We had about 15 employees, and I just found my guys were not making good decisions. They would do things, and I was like, why on earth would they do that? Why would they choose to go spend time on that thing, which makes absolutely no sense? But what I realized was that they were making decisions based on the best information that I was giving them, which was none. So they were just assuming. They had partial information. They were doing the best they could with the information they had. And it was my job to push information to them. So I developed the MIT list, which stands for the most important things. The most important things list. So this serves a few functions. Number 1, it sets the priorities for the team. It gets everybody on the same page, just like Nick Saban's 2008 defensive goals. Everybody's on the same page. So we're going to set priorities. It focuses on outcomes. It focuses on results instead of tasks. This will help your team make higher quality decisions. They'll also make faster decisions, and they will make those decisions on their own. I'm going to show you an example of how you can do this in just a minute. A couple of best practices for developing your MIT list, or the most important things. One is to get input from the team. It really helps when your team is bought into it. If you're wondering, well, what do I put on the MIT list? Here are a few things. You can put revenue targets for the month. You can put project milestones. There may be strategic initiatives like new policies, new hires, vehicles, things like that. I recommend publishing this in advance, publishing it on the 15th of the month for the following month. That way you're planning 4 to 6 weeks in advance. And then it's a good idea to include your MIT list, reviewing that in your weekly team meetings. So you may be wondering, how do I do all of this in BusyBusy? BusyBusy has a feature called the bulletin feature. And I'll just show you a couple of screenshots of what this might look like in BusyBusy. And you would create a bulletin and create a post. And here's an example that I put together. So the MIT list for August of 2024, we have some company-wide MITs, a couple of new hires starting, company picnic. Oh, look, Todd's birthday is on August 18th. Don't forget daily crew planners, which we'll get to in just a minute, are due by 2 p.m. each day. And then we have some project-specific MITs, revenue targets, schedule milestones, things like that. And then if you want to focus on the positive, this is a good place to share some wins from the previous month. And then once you set this up, you can choose who sees it. Is it everybody? Is it just your supervisors? You can allow comments, and then you can request acknowledgement that they received it. Sort of a read or read receipt, like, yeah, I saw the MIT list for the month. So that's the MIT list, which is for the entire company, looking 30 to 60 days out. You're going to push this information out to the team. And what you're doing is you're telling them what needs to happen. These are outcomes. Notice some of these outcomes are revenue targets, schedule milestones, results, outcomes. We're not telling people exactly how to do their job. We're going to empower them to do that, but you need to tell them what needs to happen, okay? So once we've established what needs to happen, somebody needs to figure out how it's going to happen. And this is where the 2-week look ahead comes in, okay? So this is at the project level. The time frame is 14 days out. This is the 2-week look ahead schedule. And here's what a 2-week look ahead looks like. Nothing magical about this, but simply have every task that needs to be completed and a day-by-day schedule for the next 14 days that shows what will be happening each day. I like to identify milestone tasks on here. So you'll notice these green tasks are milestones. Slab on grade pour, steel erection starts on a certain date. And this is done by somebody at the project level. The project manager, the superintendent, the foreman is planning out day by day what needs to happen on this project. So this will be submitted to you, and I'll show you how to do that. And there are a few things you can do with this. When your project manager, superintendent, or foreman submits this to you, you can answer a few questions like, is there a plan for the next 2 weeks? Is there even a plan for this project? Does this plan look reasonable? Is it feasible? Are they missing something? And then does the plan meet the MIT list and the milestones that we talked about? So this is when you can compare the 2-week look ahead to your MIT list. So if you recall, we said one of the milestones on job 24-102 was to pour the slab on grade by August 9th. And then we can take a look at the 2-week look ahead. Check. We're scheduled to pour it on August 9th. You can also print out your 2-week look aheads from week to week and compare them to see if things are sliding. So you're taking a snapshot of the plan as opposed to if you have a Gantt chart schedule that you're using like in Microsoft Project. If once somebody updates that project schedule, you can't really see what the previous version looked like very easily. This allows you to compare snapshots. Now, how you can do this in BusyBusy, here's one way you can make this work in BusyBusy. It's to create a custom field report. I called it the 2-week look ahead schedule. And you would create a custom field report. I set up a very basic one, and a simple way to do this would be to have your field leader fill out the 2-week look ahead by hand and simply attach a picture of it to this 2-week look ahead field report. There are probably other ways you could do this, but this is a very simple way of doing it, as opposed to having them fill out spreadsheets. But you can do it a variety of ways. But the main thing is that somebody closest to the work who's doing the work is planning for the next 2 weeks in advance. So we're going to look at this project at the project level for 14 days out. That's the 2-week look ahead schedule. And again, this is where empowered execution comes in, because you're going to push the decision making and the planning to the people doing the work. All right. The next level down is at the crew level. And the time frame is tomorrow. This is the daily crew planner. And this is where somebody at the crew level is planning tomorrow's work today. Okay. A few daily crew planner best practices. The name says it all. Somebody is planning tomorrow's work today. Every day, who's at the crew level, the crew leader is filling this out every day. And they are filling it out early enough today and sending it into their manager so that there's enough time to gather materials, schedule labor, get rental equipment, etc., before tomorrow starts. We're planning tomorrow's work today. And there are a few key questions that you want to ask in the daily crew planner, and I'll show you how this can work in BusyBusy in just a second. Good question to ask is, what are the most important things you need to complete tomorrow? So they're going to refer back to their MIT list, back to their 2-week look ahead schedule. What do you need to do tomorrow? What information do you need in order to complete those MITs? Do you have all the approvals, change orders, permits, drawings, selections, paint colors, etc.? Do you have all of that stuff approved? Do you have everything you need to complete that? And then what will it take when it comes to materials? What materials do you need for tomorrow? What tools and equipment do you need for tomorrow? What labor do you need to complete that work tomorrow? What about safety equipment? Do you have everything you need for tomorrow? And then what are the biggest risks and obstacles that can prevent you from being successful? So we're going to do a little war gaming here, a little red teaming, and get them thinking, well, if this happens, that could mess me up. So let's make a plan for that. And remember, they're filling this out at 2:00 today for tomorrow. That way, when this gets submitted to their manager, there's time to look at it and say, all right, these guys need more material. They need a piece of equipment dropped off. They have some need, and there's enough time today to resolve it for tomorrow. Here's how you can do this in BusyBusy. Again, you can create a custom field report. I set one up called the Daily Crew Planner, and here's what this can look like. You can set up checklists, like confirm you have the following safety equipment for tomorrow. You can customize this. What are the most common pieces of safety equipment that they need? What are the most important things you need to complete tomorrow? And you can have them type that in. What information is required to complete the MIT list? Do you have all the information you need? And you can set up checklists, material checklists, equipment checklists, labor and subcontractors checklists. You get the idea. And the idea would be that your crew leader fills this out every day at 2 p.m., submits it to their manager in time so that there's time to gather the things that they need. And one of the biggest benefits of this is your crew leader is pausing for just a few minutes today to think about tomorrow. So, a few best practices. Somebody needs to be planning tomorrow's work today. It should be the crew leader who's doing the work. The crew leader fills this out and they submit it by 2 p.m. today. So think about some of those questions that you shared, like what material goes here? I ran out of material. Oh, I realized I should have picked up something on the way to the job site. We're missing material. We've broken equipment. We don't have enough PPE. A lot of those things would be like those issues are sitting there. They're not, those things aren't happening at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. They exist now. It's just that nobody's thinking about it. So we need somebody to plan tomorrow's work today. So I asked some of our clients who've been using these tools, like, hey, what sort of benefits have you seen from using the MIT list and the 2-week look ahead and the daily crew planner? Here's what Jacob Richmond out in California said. The deliberate focus on essential tasks has had a remarkable impact on our productivity. By being specific and intentional with our MITs, we've empowered each team member to take ownership of their priorities, and the clarity provided by these focused tasks has been transformative. Eric Brownson said this, the 2-week look-ahead schedule has been working great. He said he used a simple version of it. We put a whiteboard on the job site trailer and drew up a 2-week look-ahead schedule, and it's been fantastic for them and for me. Eric said, I feel like a proud father when I walk into the trailer and see the 2-week schedule marked up and full of information. Sam Holman, who's from the UK, said the daily crew planner is helping the ops team to focus on what exactly is required for the task ahead, which is avoiding multiple trips to the supply house. The 2-week look ahead is a great tool for planning the next phase of the projects. It's helping to highlight which resources are required and any key milestone targets that need to be met. How many of you have people maybe you look at receipts and you're like, why did we go to Home Depot 187 times this month? Why do we need to go to Home Depot twice a day or the supply house? That's what the daily crew planner, one thing the daily crew planner is going to help you with. So to recap these 3 tools, you start at the company level, planning 30 to 60 days in advance with the MIT list, the most important things. Then, and you are doing this, you as the leader will do this at the company level. And then your project leaders will plan for the next 14 days out using the 2-week look ahead. And then at the crew level, your crew leader will fill out the daily crew planner and they will plan tomorrow's work today. So remember, this is all about empowered execution. It's based on the proven concept that the people closest to the problems are best equipped to make the decisions and do the planning. We're empowering frontline employees to make decisions. That's what planning is. They're making decisions about what material do we need? What equipment do we need? What PPE do we need? Using advanced communication tools, we're pushing information across all levels. And then again, we're leveraging their proximity to the problems for better solutions. And when you do this, remember, when you do this, you'll reduce bottlenecks. And there's a pretty good chance if you are a small business owner, there's a pretty good chance you're the bottleneck. If you're getting a lot of rings and dings and notifications on your phone and lots of questions, there's a pretty good chance you're the bottleneck. And you need to get that information out of your head and push it out to them. You'll have faster and better decisions. There will be fewer mistakes. Your organization will be more resilient. And this one surprises some people, but morale and motivation go up because your team members like to know what's going on. They like to see the big picture. They like to be trusted. They like to do things their way. Okay. and your phone will ring and ding less. And remember, this only works if you solve the real root cause, which is the JETS trap. This is the cause of 80% of chaos and profit bleeds. Which we'll get to in just a minute. But I want to ask you this question. Imagine you have your team planning. You have your crew leaders filling out the daily crew planner and planning tomorrow's work today. Somebody at the project level is doing a 2-week look ahead schedule, and you and everybody on the team is clear on what the most important things are for the next 30 to 60 days. What's going to be the best part for you when you have that in place? Put that in the chat box. What do you think that would do for you? Curious to hear your answers. What would be the best part for you when somebody's planning tomorrow's work today? Somebody other than you is doing 2-week look aheads, and everybody's clear on the most important things. Type that in the chat box. What's going to be the best part for you? Then we're going to get to that JETS trap. Sarah said, clear expectations equals less stress. Yeah, I like that. Francesca said, less reaction. Yeah, definitely less firefighting, less reaction. What else? What's going to be the best part for you? Speaking of expectations, I've heard it said that unclear expectations are premeditated resentments. Unclear expectations are premeditated resentments. Yeah. Let's see. Evie said no last minute scheduling. Absolutely. Anna said less frustration, more productivity. Yeah. What do you think this would do for the morale of the team? You feel like they would be happier having a plan, knowing when they come to work that somebody has a plan or they know what the plan is? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about this. All of this is great, but it only works if you solve the real root cause, which is the JETS trap. So let's talk about this JETS trap. 90% of contractors are stuck in it. They don't know it, and they can't get out. And it's keeping them stuck. It's causing profit bleeds. It's causing chaos. Keeps them stuck in firefighting and reactive mode. And let me show you what this looks like. Here's what this looks like. We're looking at a very basic Gantt chart. We have pre-construction activities, and we do enough pre-construction to get started, and then we kick off construction. And then where we have overlap between what should be pre-construction activities and construction, so we have chaos. This is where we are chasing down selections. We're finishing design work. We're going back and forth with architects and engineers. We're managing changes, selecting subcontractors, trying to buy out projects, trying to find materials, just-in-time ordering, trying to manage risk, trying to manage the budget, all while construction is going on. This is the JETS trap, which stands for just enough to start. Doing just enough pre-construction to get started, and then starting construction, and then we'll figure out the rest of it later. This is the just enough to start trap, and it is the root cause of a lot of chaos. It's the root cause of a lot of profit bleeds. It's the root cause of a lot of frustration, a lot of employee turnover as well. Doing just enough to start. So this is the old way. It doesn't have to be this way. Unfortunately, 90% of contractors are stuck in this, but it doesn't have to be that way. Here's what it can look like. This is the new way of doing this. This is where you have a well-defined pre-construction phase, and then there's a gap before we start construction. And in that gap, you nail the handoff. And construction projects are a lot like the Olympic relay races. Here we are in August 2024. The Olympics are going on, and if you watch an Olympic relay race, there's a baton that gets passed off in a relay. And you don't see two people running side by side, holding onto the baton, people dropping the baton, passing it back and forth. There's a clear handoff. And that's what you want in your operation. You want a clear handoff from pre-construction to construction so that your construction team has everything they need to finish instead of just enough to start. And this will revolutionize your business when you focus on pre-construction. It will revolutionize your business. And I'll say it this way. Think about a really successful, profitable, growing construction business that you admire in your market. There's a pretty good chance that they're a great pre-construction company masquerading as a construction company. The reason they look so good at construction is because they overinvest in pre-construction. I interviewed a man named Wes Palmisano who grew his company to $250 million a year, and he said they did it by focusing on pre-construction. And that's the secret. The secret to getting out of the just enough to start trap is focusing on pre-construction, having a well-defined, documented pre-construction process that's disciplined, and then you hand off everything your team needs to finish to the construction team. So if you're curious what sort of results people get from that, you can go to our results tab on our website, constructionleadingedge.com. And at least 80% of the people who go through our program, go through our Systematize Your Construction Business program, say when they designed their pre-construction process, it revolutionized their business. So that's one of the secrets to that. As I mentioned, I want to get our productivity hacks into your hand. We have 32 proven productivity hacks for maximizing profit. Very simple things you can do. If you want this, you can send a text with the word productivity to that number on the screen, 877-755-2410, and then we'll get back with you and get that list into your hands. Again, send it if you want the free PDF, to send a text with the word productivity to that number, 877-755-2410, and we'll get that to you. And you may be wondering, all right, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here? 3 steps. Number 1, empower your team. Turn your doers into planners. Use the technology that's available to you. Push that information out to your team. Develop your MIT list. Have your project leaders create a 2-week look-ahead schedule, and then have your crew leaders start planning tomorrow's work today. And if you're not sure where to start, I would recommend starting with the daily crew planner. I'll show that number in just a second. So if you're not sure where to start with the daily crew planner. It can be as simple as, hey, send me a text with, what's your plan tomorrow? What do you need for tomorrow? Start simple. Just get started. Second, make sure you get out of the just enough to start trap and focus on your pre-construction process. And then the third step is to make sure your business is designed for success. Okay. The unfortunate reality is lots of businesses are actually structured for stagnation and some are structured for failure. So you want to answer this question about your business. Is your business structured for success? Is it structured for stagnation? Or is it structured for failure? Right? We're all familiar with the statistics about construction business failure. And for the most part, it's not random. Okay. The businesses that fail, many of them are structured for failure. The businesses that are stagnant, they're stuck at a certain level, it's because that's what they're structured to do. They're designed that way. And a great way to evaluate your business is to check it against the 5 root causes of contractor failure. Okay. There was a study has been published and updated over the past 15 years or so about the 5 root causes of contractor failure. And it's a good idea to compare your business and evaluate your business against that to make sure you have a good answer to this question. This is a really important question to answer. Is your business structured for success? Is it structured for stagnation, or is it structured for failure? And there are a few different ways you can do this. You have a few options at this point if you're not really sure about the design of your business, or if you're not really sure about your pre-construction process. Option number 1 is you can do nothing. You can hope for the best, take a wait and see approach, react when something pops up, keep getting the same results. And that might be the right answer if you're happy with the way things are going. If you want to make some changes, the other option is to DIY it. You can do it yourself. Sometimes it's hard to see the problems that are in your blind spot. It's hard to see the forest for the trees. Or option number 3 is to get an objective outside perspective. And chances are you have an attorney, you have a CPA, maybe a financial planner that you work with to give you an informed, objective view about the financial side of your business, about your contracts. And it could be wise to do the same thing about the structure and the design of your business. And we'd like to help you with that. So if you'd like to evaluate your business and see if it's what it's structured for, then we'd like to help. You can schedule your free business evaluation call. If you are a construction business owner, this is for business owners only of businesses that have been in operation for at least 2 years, and you're doing at least $1 million in revenue annually, then you're eligible for this. You can schedule your free business evaluation call with my team by either scanning that QR code or going to constructionleadingedge.com/apply and schedule your free business evaluation call. We'll go over the 5 root causes of contractor failure. We'll evaluate your business. We'll identify hidden profit bleeds, and we'll look at your pre-construction process as well. And this is the first step if you're interested in our Systematize Your Construction Business program. And I would also encourage you to go check out the Construction Leading Edge podcast. We have 340 or so episodes at this point out there, interviews with construction business owners who've done it. They've scaled their business, industry experts, and there's a tremendous amount of value there. Again, if you want those 32 productivity hacks, you can send the text with the word productivity to 877-755-2410, and we'll get back in touch with you and get that free PDF into your hands. There's some really simple things that you can put it to work tomorrow and have a significant impact on the productivity and the profitability of your business. So that pretty much covers it on my end. Let's open it up for questions. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you. So Ryan, I'll turn it back over to you, and we can answer any questions people have.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. And I mean, you guys can tell just by listening to him, this has been awesome. I mean, it's even awesome for us just to listen. Just the tips and tricks from the most important things, the 2-week look ahead, the daily planner. It really is. I mean, it's applicable no matter what you're doing from a business standpoint. So yeah, thank you so much, Todd, for being on here. If anybody does have questions, please drop those in the chat right now or in the Q&A. We'll give everybody a couple seconds to make sure everyone has time to grab that number, as well as the link if you're interested in applying. and then we'll let everybody go and continue their day. Not seeing any questions yet, so I'm going to assume everybody is good at this point. Todd, thanks so much for being on here. Yeah, that was great. You guys can tell why we love working with Todd. And yeah, go check out the Construction Leading Edge podcast, add it to your list, and we will catch you all on the next webinar.
Sounds great. I appreciate it, Ryan. Hey, one quick question for those of you still on here. Here's a challenge. Like, what's your action item? What are you going to do with this next? If you've been listening for the past 45 minutes and you don't do anything with it, probably not going to get much value out of it. So my question for you, and I would challenge you to put this in the chat box, what's your action item? What is your next step that you're going to do with this information? Is it to do a daily crew planner? Is it to get those productivity tips? Is it go back to work and forget it? Is it work on your MIT list? Is it schedule a call? What are you going to do with this information? What are you going to implement from this? So Roxana said, get the tips. Excellent. Excellent. Yep. And I'll, if you guys have any other questions, then you can, the best way is that number that's on the screen there. And we would love to help you out however we can. Love working with the BusyBusy team. Ryan, Bracken, appreciate the opportunity and look forward to helping you folks out in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Todd. And everybody, like this has been recorded. We will send that out to everybody as well. So you'll be able to check it out again. And yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, go to Todd's website and see if it's something for you. Again, thanks, Todd. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.